Due to the fact that any negative press about Rojas, from what I've seen, has been landlocked to Spain, it is unlikely anyone in the English-speaking world is even aware of the pretty long and scandalous history that Rojas has. As I was attempting to piece this whole story together, it definitely felt like there had been a pretty concentrated effort made to suppress this information. But this is all public if you know where to look and if you're willing to spend the time translating everything from Spanish to English, which I was. When I began learning about Rojas, I thought I was going to uncover the story of a medical doctor with ties to Opus Dei behaving unethically towards other Opus Dei members under his care. But the reality is that Rojas appears to have left a number of individuals, Opus Dei affiliated and otherwise, worse off than he found them. One of the most detailed blogs I found was run by a woman named Isabel Caballero. On her blog's profile, she wrote that, "My name is Isabel, although sometimes on the internet I identify myself as Al Alba because despite having no psychiatric or criminal record, they come to get me at dawn, almost at daybreak, during those hours when there are never any witnesses. Enrique Rojas, colluding with the father of my children and my eldest daughter, tried to remove me from the picture. It is not necessary to belong to Opus Dei or have any type of relationship with Enrique Rojas for him to intervene in our lives. With enough contacts to get things done and lacking any scruples to carry them out, he acted against me while he was being tried in a case with a similar motive." I feel like I have inadvertently stumbled upon a very double-faced actor. And now I know way more about Enrique Rojas Montes than I ever wanted to. But that means that I do have an opinion of the kind of person Rojas is, and he's an interesting bird, to say the least. The majority of the information that I learned about his professional career and accolades came from a January 2024 article on El Mundo titled "Copyright Brick and Wines: The Origin of the Millionaire Fortune of the Psychiatrist Enrique Rojas and His Family." The so-called psychiatrist to the elite, Rojas is an Opus Dei supernumerary whose wife is also reportedly an Opus Dei as well. He has been a prominent Spanish psychiatrist known for his controversial views on a variety of topics. He runs the Rojas Estape Institute, a practice that he inherited from his psychiatrist father, Luis Rojas. The practice is located on 100 Serrano Street in Madrid, which is noted to be the most expensive street in Spain. Rojas has published several books focusing on mental health and personal well-being. However, some of his views, such as those regarding homosexuality, have sparked significant criticism. He has described homosexuality as a disorder that he believes can be treated, a stance that aligns with outdated and widely discredited perspectives on sexual orientation. I wonder which, if any, other outdated and discredited views Enrique still clings to. Rojas' work and opinion have generated considerable debate, particularly regarding the intersection of religion, psychiatry, and human rights. Rojas has been a vocal advocate for integrating faith into mental health care, arguing that spirituality is crucial for maintaining a balanced life. He has emphasized the importance of a well-rounded identity model and suggests that a successful life includes a balance between love, work, culture, and friendship. As a spiritual person, I would say that I agree that balance is important, but something tells me that Rojas and I might disagree over how that should be identified and expressed. Now, in addition to his achievements as a psychologist, Rojas found significant success in the world of real estate acquisition and leasing. Thanks to the success of the Rojas Estape business, Triana 88SL, which was founded in 1988, the family boasts asset value in excess of £5.5 million as of 2015. They also manage the Reyes Magos vineyard, which is located southeast of Madrid and produces Oikos wine, once again combining Rojas's passions. And for the record, this guy really likes wine, but we'll get into that in a little bit. The El Mundo article highlights the fact that even without these ventures into real estate and winemaking, Rojas would still be extremely wealthy from the royalties generated over the years, thanks to the success of his nearly 24 books. Between 2017, he had sold more than 3 million copies of over 20 books that he had personally written. All of them have ostensibly been successful and translated into various languages. He has achieved influence as a high-profile figure thanks to his friendships with prominent political figures figures such as Jose Maria Aznar, Ana Botella, Ana Pastor, Tamara Falco, Jose Manuel Soria, who is the former Minister of Industry, and Jose Luis Martinez Almeida, mayor of Madrid and promoter of Rojas's literary works. These connections are what earned him the title of psychiatrist to the elite. I did some digging into these relationships and how they formed, and from everything that I've learned, they essentially stem from several key factors, but which all tie back to the fact that Rojas has become plugged into the conservative religious network in Spain. This has allowed him to form relationships with other high-profile Spanish figures who share ideological similarities and social networks. Some of these individuals, such as Tamara Falco, have been connected to Rojas in a therapeutic context as he became a trusted figure among Spain's aristocratic and elite families. But something that has been much less clear is the degree to which Rojas's affiliation with conservative Catholic groups have aided and boosted his social reach and clout. For example, Jose Maria Aznar and Ana Botella and Jose Luis Martinez Almeida all have connections to Opus Dei. There is also an Opus Dei academic element at play here as well, which we will get into in a moment. But all of this makes me ask the two age-old questions, which are, to what extent Opus Dei is functioning as a boon to people with a desire to climb the social, political, or economic ladders, and how premeditated or intentional is that function? We can truly only speculate, but in my opinion, Opus Dei functions as a network connecting like-minded people with similar ideologies and goals. It starts to get hairy when these people insert themselves into government and politics because Opus Dei's presence starts to feel like this massive elephant in the room. Regardless of what the answer is, it's a fact that Enrique Rojas Montes' close relationships with prominent political and social figures is largely due to shared religious, moral, and ideological values, his status within Spain's elite, and his professional reputation as a psychiatrist. In my opinion, it's fair to speculate that Opus Dei's affiliation plays a central role in facilitating these connections. After all, birds of a feather flock together. Something that stood out to me was the fact that the article states that several of Rojas's patients have claimed that he often recommends his books during consultations. Now, having never read any of his books, I'm not going to pass judgment on whether or not that's a good idea or helpful to his patients. Maybe it is, I don't know. But it does remind me of various professors I have had over the course of my academic career who have promoted or required their students to read their authored books or other academic literature as part of their required coursework. Maybe it's different in other places, but here in the United States, that kind of behavior is generally not perceived well because it can turn a learning environment into a sales pitch with a captive audience. I feel like the issue is compounded when it comes from a healthcare perspective. If I went to a doctor for help with a specific health issue and part of their solution was to recommend that I buy their book, I don't know that I would be going back to that doctor. That's just me though. Again, maybe his books really are that good. Another interesting point is the fact that, according to the same El Mundo article, Rojas appears to promote alcohol consumption as an antidote to depression. It mentions this in at least 2 different points in the article. Quote, wine is an antidepressant, gets ghosts away from the mind, negative things. And, quote, one must have good health, a poor memory, and overcome seriousness, end quote. With the article going on to add that we might add drinking up to 3 glasses of wine, the limit of what is healthy according to the psychiatrist, end quote. This just seems like tremendously bad advice. Now, to Rojas's credit, I don't know for certain that he was the one promoting 3 glasses of wine a day because that's not a direct quote in the article, but it implies that he does because it states that 3 glasses of wine is, quote, the limit of what is healthy according to the psychiatrist, end quote. Maybe that line was intended to be taken tongue-in-cheek and that fact got lost in translation for me. I have no idea. But a quick internet search told me that the consensus among researchers is that moderate intake of wine is defined as up to 1 glass or 5 fluid ounces of 12% alcohol wine per day for women and up to 2 glasses or 10 fluid ounces of 12% wine per day for men. So 3 glasses of wine seems like a lot. Maybe the wine in Spain is weaker, I don't know. I know that the culture and attitude towards alcohol is quite a bit different overseas, so maybe 3 glasses of wine is nothing for your average Spaniard. Now, what is a direct quote was Rojas' statement that a poor memory is necessary for good health and happiness. He said that, quote, one must have good health, a poor memory, and overcome seriousness, end quote. I wonder why Rojas, a licensed psychiatrist, would advocate forgetting things as an appropriate mental health strategy. To play devil's advocate for a moment, I can imagine that perhaps he intended the statement to be taken lightly and that it was not an indication of any type of concerning or troubling ethic. But considering what I have learned about Dr. Enrique Rojas, I'll reserve the right to my own opinion and state for the record that from my perspective, in my opinion, I find that hard to believe. And not for nothing, but repressing thoughts and emotions is generally not something mental health advocates promote because it has been correlated with numerous negative health outcomes, including premature death. But, okay, so he said some controversial things and might be a bit of a bigot, not exactly breaking news. If that were all there were to say about him, there would be no real point in this episode. But as it turns out, beneath the fluff social articles promoting his wealth and public success lurks a shadowy past full of lawsuits and civil convictions. It's the type of past someone like Rojas would be eager to leave dead and buried. And considering how tricky some of this was to figure out, it's not hard to feel like someone was trying to do just that.